Good afternoon, Sean here from Mountains Garage. During my recent series of videos on the Turbo 400, which I promised I wouldn't shoot anymore, I really didn't cover the 4L80E drum and how to put extra clutches everywhere else in the transmission. Let's cover it real quick. I just had to shut my camera off and run outside because three military choppers just went over. Pretty cool. You could hear them coming a mile away. I love that stuff. Last fall, in a strange chain of events, had me outside during the day hosing something off, and B-17 went over. I mean, treetop. And I was totally jazzed. I got my camera, I got some pictures of it because I heard it coming. I mean, it's a pretty distinctive sound. And it's the same one that crashed a week later in Massachusetts, or Connecticut, wherever it was. But last fall, the B-17 that crashed went over my house about 4 days before that. Pretty cool. So I'm totally jazzed, and I'm rambling on to my wife. She doesn't care, but I go back outside, and here comes a P-51 Mustang, the B-25, and the rest of they had an air show up here in Maine. You can go on rides and stuff, and they came right over my house, because I live right next to Sebago Lake, if you look on a map. Second biggest lake in Maine, so. And I know over in the woods, I'm pointing that way like you care, but there's a giant marker that's something to do with the FAA, so a lot of planes go right over the top of my house here. I'm okay with that. They're not jets, and I like planes. Anyway, didn't I say I was going to talk real quick? Why do you want a 4L80E drum? So to start with, we're going to talk about the intermediate clutch pack. Stock has 3 steels and 3 clutches. Sometimes there's a wave plate, sometimes there isn't. And if you use thinner steels and clutches, like Alto sells a power pack that has like 60-something thousand clutches and 70,000 steels. And in the same area, you had 3 clutches and steels. Now you fit 4. So you got nothing to worry about. What are you worrying about? Well, the problem is, where the steel, where the clutches ride, is only so thick. The outer sprag race, which this is on the back of the direct drum, but the intermediate clutches ride on this, is about 60 thousandths thinner than the 4L80 drum, because the 4L80 has 4 clutches on the intermediate. Now what can happen, in the Alto situation, the power pack, they made sure they use the same amount of real estate and fit 4 clutches in there. If you want to duplicate that, you got to find the thin stuff. I can find 80 thousandths clutches and some 77 thousand steels, but I got to make sure I don't come up off the edge. So I made a rig to check that. For starters, let's compare this 1970 Turbo 400 drum, and yes, it's the one I took out of that transmission we stripped the other day. And this is a nice 97 and up 4L80E drum that the nice mail lady just dropped off a few minutes ago. I've been waiting for it. So you can see that everything's the same here. If I put this across the top, it's actually flush on both sides. However, it's thicker down toward the drum itself, which is the direction we need to make sure that the clutch doesn't drop off. And now I'm going to put it on the my testing rig here, and I'll show you. I don't want to go talking it up too much because it's really nothing but a bolt-on yoke and a piece of 2-inch square tubing, but it allows me to stack up my lower unit and my direct clutch, and I can get a good look at what's going to happen. I think, in this case, I got 80 thousandths clutches, 77 thousand steels, which is much thinner than the stock stuff. I think those are 100. I'll measure them for you. And I have the pressure plate out just so I can see what's going on, but it would ride here. Now let's talk about what we're dealing with. The center support's bolted to the case. And right now the direct drum is all the way down. It's never going to get any closer. It's only going to go far away, which would move the teeth in a favorable direction. So I think this is a Turbo 400 drum. I think it would be okay because I don't have that much clutch travel, but as the clutches wear, eventually you probably push a clutch off there and then things are going to go bad. There's a reason why GM made a thicker sprag race. Now let's try the 4L80E drum on here and see how much better it looks. This is the 80E drum, and there's definitely a lot more safety cushion, about almost 60 thousandths. I think it'd be okay the other way, but I'm definitely okay this way because these are pretty much stock dimension 4L80E clutches and steels in the intermediate. Because as you know, the 4L80E is nothing but an overgrown Turbo 400. They share a lot of the same parts. So let's talk money. The Alto Power Pack is about, let's call it $70. I just bought this, they call it a semi-loaded drum, 4L80E drum. It comes with the spiral lock you're going to want, the 34 element sprag already installed, of course the thicker sprag race, and it comes with the molded piston. We're not going to use that. That goes with it. Not going to use that because we need the heavy duty springs. This is going to be another trans brake application. If I was building a street transmission, that'd be fine. It comes with new steels and a wave plate. I could use the steels. I'll use them in something else because they're brand new. And that whole rig delivered was $90. So going back to my 70 drum, it's round back. So I had the drum, let's call that a wash. The 34 element sprag's about 65 bucks. The spiral lock was $9 or $10 anyway. So add that up, plus the Alto Power Pack that would fit on here with no trouble. And it's way cheaper to get a 4L80E drum. And that's why people are doing it. One, it's hard to find old Turbo 400 drums that'll take the same big sprag. 97 and up 4L80E all has them. Below 97, I guess it's a crapshoot. Because they used a roller style also, I guess. The ones you want, when you see them advertised, 97 and up. 4L80E. Now I'm going to change gears and we're going to talk about putting extra clutches in the forward and direct. I just cut this non-check ball piston to go in that 4L80E drum that the nice mail lady just brought to my house. It makes a wicked mess. It just goes everywhere. It cuts really fast. I just do it by hand. I advance back and forth. I advance the table that way and keep running it back in and out by hand. It cuts really nice. I cut it too, measuring there's a bulge on the back right there. For the direct drum, I find 600 works nice, and for the forward drum, I see them advertised at like 587, but about 590 is about right. So, and you could get away with that in the direct too if you happen to cut this too much, and now it's 589 to 590. It'll work in either one. The only thing you have to worry about is the check ball. I'll show you that. The dimension of 600 and 587, 590 I just gave you was to put 6 clutches in your forward and direct. 6 clutches, 6 steels. All right, so let's knock that check ball thing one last time. This is the check ball drum. Check ball's right there. I'm going to use a non-check ball piston. That hole is blank. Where'd you go? Right there. This is my 1970 drum, no check ball. But my piston has a check ball. You can hear it rattling. And one more time, you can have 2 check balls. You can put a check ball piston in this check ball drum, but you can't put the non-check ball piston in a non-check ball drum. In both cases, I've drilled my 1/16 bleed hole, because these are both going to be trans brake applications. You want to miss the wall, but you want to be in this flat surface here. It's not hard to do, but I waste a drill bit every time. I bought 2 10-packs of 1/16 drills off eBay, and they're absolute junk. They wouldn't scratch a piece of wood. pretty disappointed in that, but I still have a bunch of, they're actually 1/16 end mills, and every time I break it off. No matter how careful I am and how much lube I use, lube again, I love to say the word lube, but anyway, the dangers of cutting the piston beyond the dimension I gave you, because I see a lot of people run 7 in these clutches and steels, and you can with thinner steels. Now that brings up the next subject. It's a 1970 drum. The snap ring groove is lower than a later model drum. I have a transmission on the other side of the garage here I just did. 1984 4L75 factory 6 clutch, and the snap ring is as high as this one. So what's that do? I cut this piston yesterday. I stack in 6 stock dimension 88 thousandths steels and 6 clutches, and it won't fit. I can fit 6 with a 77 thousandth steel just fine, so that's what I'm going to run in this drum. It's old, and I guess it's just the way it is. And anything late model, you can run your stock direct clutch. Your direct clutch has thicker steels than the forward clutch, but you can interchange them. So in this one here, I just cut the piston exactly the same as that one, and I can put 6 thick steels and 6 stock clutches. So the danger, if you cut the piston too much, the piston. I set these up with no seals. It's way easier. No snap ring, no springs, nothing. So if you would have cut that piston too much, the steel wouldn't lug into the case. It would actually drop down and spin, and then it'd be a no apply situation. You'd lose the whatever range. This is forward or direct. You'd lose everything associated with it because you'd have a spun steel, which is what you were trying to avoid. The idea of the whole video, that would actually spin just like that if you cut the piston too much. So I'm comfortable with the 590 to 600 thick piston, and I'm going to stack them up just to show you one more time what a good stack looks like. So on the left, my 1970 drum with the 77 thousandth steels, and it drops right below the shoulder. When you drop the pressure plate in, you should hear it sit on the metal. It should not make a dull thud. It should sound really metallic. Same situation here. I judge right there. The rule of thumb is 10 thousandths per clutch. That'd be 60 thousandths. I don't go that big. I'm not sure when that dimension took place, whether it was all wore in or not. This is all brand new. Probably when they seat in a little bit, they're going to gain a little bit of clearance, so I'm happy just going slightly below the shelf where the pressure plate sits and calling it good. Again, when you drop that in, you got to hit metal. So those are 2 nice drums. Should work really well. The other benefit of this homemade tool is I can size my tail housing bushing. I don't have to chase around for a yoke. I can just put the last couple I put in. I hammer them in and they fit just fine. I had a run a few months ago where I had to hone every one of them. So I guess it depends where it comes from. Back to the intermediate clutch. I put these, I'm right here. There's a bunch of crap on it, but I bolted to my rotary table on my mill, and I cut this shoulder right here. I cut the top, I clamp it in the middle, and I actually make that smaller if I need to adjust my clearance. But sometimes you have to, most of the time you don't. So that's it. The one we stripped last Sunday, the Turbo 400 we stripped, is now well on its way to going back together, and the trans brake and case saver and everything else I need. I got most everything in stock. My situation, I'm not big enough to be a transmission shop, and I don't have a direct supplier, so I'm always shopping for stuff. I don't need a whole kit to put a transmission together. I have a million clutches and steels. I buy the seals independently because I never know what operation I'm going to do. Somebody brings me a transmission, I may do the whole overhaul. I may just do a few things to it. So I hate breaking open a gasket set that if you shop around just buying one gasket set, you're going to pay $40 for it. If you have to go to your local auto supply place, it's going to be $50, $60, $80 for one without the seals. So shopping around this morning, I bought 10 at $17.95 a piece. So I've ended up spending $400 worth of stuff just to have parts. I bought 10 9-inch Ford kits the other day too because I got a deal on them. That'll get me going for a while. Spent a lot of money in parts. When the bills come at the end of the month, you realize how much you spend in parts. Nothing's free. Except we are. We're all free. Once the pandemic leaves, we can actually go out and be free. So that's it. Next subject, who knows. Enjoy your day. I'll talk to you next time.